The Cubs have now won back-to-back against the Washington Nationals and are approaching the 80-win mark for the season. We're going to talk about that, Dansby Swanson's strong second half, and Jameson Taillon's comments after his 11th win of the season. That and more on this edition of the Cubs Baseball Channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Get in our comment section. Let us know how you feel about what Jameson Taillon said yesterday, and if you think he's going to be a valuable part of the 2025 rotation. But for now, here is your invitation to our show. Hello, everybody. What is up? Welcome to the Cubs Baseball Channel. My name is Anthony Pasquale. You can find me on Twitter at ant_Pasquale3. You can also find the Cubs Baseball Channel on Twitter, on TikTok, and on Instagram. So follow us along on there. Make sure to stay active with us, and as we post on those different channels and platforms, and we can continue to grow this Cubs content machine and keep talking Cubs on all the different platforms, including right here on YouTube. But the Cubs beat the Nationals yesterday 3-1 for their 79th win of the season. They are approaching the 80-win mark on the year, which obviously you'd like to make the playoffs, but the Cubs could still come away with a winning season this year. And it's definitely something to build on and continue to strive for moving forward. You never want to be below 500. Where you do want to be is in the playoffs, and the Cubs likely won't be there this year, which is frustrating, but you can continue to take some of those steps forward. But player of the game yesterday, without a doubt, was Jameson Taillon. He picked up his 11th win of the season, only allowed 2 hits across 6 innings of shutout baseball, struck out 4, and lowered his season ERA to 3.41. He's had a really strong season. There were a few kind of bad starts in there right around the trade deadline, which is when he kind of started to struggle just a little bit. And then he's turned it up a notch here in September, 4 straight quality starts after a pretty rough August. So Taillon has really made a mark in this season. He's become a guy the Cubs can lean on and go out there every 5th day and get the job done for the team. In September, he's got 25 innings pitched, allowed just 3 earned runs. So definitely something to build on for next year, especially since he started the season with a really strong April and a pretty strong May as well. He generated a lot of buzz as a trade target, but the Cubs elected to keep him as a guy that they can move forward with as they continue to not only try to win this season, but years after that. And it seems like Taillon is the right type of guy to have in the locker room. And he really echoed a lot of Craig Counsell's statements from the other day when Counsell was talking about the Milwaukee Brewers, saying, there's a pretty big gap between us and them, but it's our job to try to close that gap and try to identify what we can do as an organization to take that next step and continue to build 90-win baseball. Taillon said a few statements and a few sentiments that really, I think, put into perspective what the Cubs fans were thinking and really aligned with how the fans had been thinking. One of the first things he said was, it seems like when we play the Brewers, they do a really good job of winning the big moments. And we know the Cubs have struggled in the big moments this year because they've blown 24 saves. But Taillon specifically mentioned a game in Milwaukee when he gave up a grand slam on a 2-strike pitch. And he said, that's never a time you can give up a home run. But the Brewers take advantage of those moments. They always come on top in those moments. And if you win the big moments, you win the games more often than not. And that's why the Brewers are 7, 8, 9, 10 games up in the division, and the Cubs are going to be missing the playoffs, is because the Brewers have taken advantage of those moments. But what Taillon also said is as the Cubs move forward and they continue to build and strive toward a better team, he says he believes in the coaching staff and Craig and the organization and the players. But Taillon said, quote, "Teams shouldn't want to come in here and play the Cubs. Wrigley shouldn't be a fun road trip. I mean, we're the Chicago Cubs. We should strive to be a 90-win at least organization." And I couldn't agree with Taillon more. I think that's exactly what this team needs to try to become. This is what this team is building for, and that's who they have to be. They can't be a teeter-totter 82-win ball club. They have to be a 90-win team year in and year out and expect that year in and year out. And that's where the Cubs are going. I think it's where they should be. But I think, you're going to head into this offseason knowing that there's a little bit more that you have to do to get there. And hopefully the Cubs can make those right decisions. One decision that they made a few years ago was to sign Dansby Swanson at shortstop, and he homered yesterday in the ball game to start things off in the bottom of the first. And then the Cubs scored 2 more in the bottom of the 7th on a 2 RBI double from Mike Tauchman that scored Nico Hoerner and Pete Crow-Armstrong. But Swanson has put together a really strong second half. The defense has been excellent, but struggled a little bit at the plate for most of the first half of the season. But he's been very good as of late. He's hitting .323 over his last 7 games, and over his last 30, an average up near .274. As you take a look at his kind of season month by month, the batting average was pretty low across March, April, May, June. But July, August, September, been pretty good. He's hitting .316 in September, .261 there in August. So really turning it up here the second half of the season. He's going to end the year around a 4 WAR, which is a better than replacement average player by 4. He's been really strong defensively and a really solid offensive piece for the last couple of months. He's got 16 home runs now on the season with 64 runs driven in, 17 steals, and an OPS nearing 700. A guy that you'd like to start a little bit quicker offensively in the season, but with that leadership in the defense, if he can hit all year long, you're going to have a really strong player. And I think that's what the Cubs believe they have at shortstop with Swanson. A couple injury updates. Jordan Wicks back onto the injured list with the same oblique that has sidelined him twice already this season. Definitely the right time to start resting, getting better for next season, but has to be a concern moving forward, as this is the 3rd time just this year that he's gone on the injured list with the same type of injury. So you got to hope Jordan Wicks can get healthy and stay healthy next year, because the Cubs certainly believe he could be a mainstay in their rotation and certainly factor into their 5-man rotation plans next season. But health is going to be the biggest thing. And then Julian Merriweather got injured earlier in the season, missed most of the year, and then came back and has been battling a knee injury. And the Cubs finally decided to pull the plug on it and say, all right, let's get this surgery done, make sure he's better for next year, because there's no sense in pushing it when the Cubs are 6 games back in the wild card race. So we'll keep an eye on those, and we'll update you guys on their rehab news when we hear it. But as it stands right now, the Cubs are in 2nd place still in the NL Central. Obviously, the Brewers won it, so as good as the Cubs can get is 2nd, and that's where they are right now. Both the Braves and the Mets lost yesterday, so the Cubs are 6 games back in the NL wildcard race with 8 to play. Still obviously super unlikely, which is why you see the 0.1 chance here to make the playoffs. The Cubs are 4 games over 500, but the fat lady hasn't sung yet, and the Cubs technically are still mathematically alive. They take on the Nationals today at Wrigley at 1:20 p.m. First pitch, Kyle Hendricks on the mound for Chicago. I'm trying to do the math on the Cubs' last 8 games of the season. And if my math is correct, this should be Kyle Hendricks' last start in Wrigley Field, because today is Saturday, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I guess he could start next Friday at home against the Cincinnati Reds. But either way, the time is dwindling on his contract, obviously, and he plans to pitch next season. We don't know if it's going to be with the Cubs. We don't know if the Cubs plan on trying to bring him back maybe on a minor league deal or with some type of option where they could cut ties if they need to, or if they plan on using him out of the bullpen next year or whatever the case might be. But there's also a very real possibility that his time with the Cubs is running short, and that could mean he only has a couple of starts left at the friendly confines. So he's on the mound for the Cubs, 4-11 on the season with a 6.25 ERA. Up against MacKenzie Gore, who I believe the Nationals acquired in the Juan Soto deal with the San Diego Padres, 9-12 on the season with a 4.17 ERA. The Cubs have a few players that have had some experience against Gore. Swanson, Suzuki, Happ, and Bellinger are all hitting above 400 against Gore in their career. Hoerner's had some struggles, and then Patrick Wisdom also has homered off of Gore in his career. But guys, that'll do it for the Cubs baseball channel. Thank you guys so much for always joining us and talking some Cubs ball. Let me know if you agree with what Craig Counsell and Jameson Taillon have been saying about the Cubs needing to be building toward a 90-win team, and also what you think the Cubs need to do to get there. But for now, keep liking and subscribing, get in the comment section, following us on Twitter, on TikTok, and on Instagram. We will talk to you guys tomorrow, hopefully after the Cubbies' third win in a row.